everyone. Welcome back to Coda Stories. This is me, Sneha, and in today's episode, we have the wonderful Neysha Arcelay joining us from Pittsburgh. Neysha is the founder of a company, Precixa, and she's a speaker and author of the book, The Little Blue Book, The Girl's Guide to Owning Her Professional Development. Thank you, Neysha, for joining us today. Neysha, I must say you've restored my faith on just reach out and things will work out because not only were you so kind and so reciprocative, but you also introduced me to your network. So, I could reach out to them. So that's very kind of you and I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. We have to lift each other as we rise, and that's my firm belief. So I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Neysha. I'd love to know what is your story, Neysha? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and coming from a fragile economy and being the youngest in my family by 10 years of difference, that made me a problem solver pretty much since birth. Um, so that led me to a career in engineering, which followed a 20-year career in corporate America through three Fortune companies. And after that, I was looking for something where I can have the flexibility and contribute even more hands-on um, to successful strategies. So I launched my own consulting firm. And through this consulting firm, I help organizations that are in the mid-market in order for them to realize their transformational strategies whenever they are going to have a strategic initiative or are heading into a strategic direction that will shift the way they operate in a significant manner. I come and help them execute and um, ensure that the changes are sustainable so that they can carry on and do wonderful things.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great cause that you're working for, and you're amazing. So, Neysha, I read your book and I fell in love with your book. I think your book is an absolute guide for anyone who is planning to really work on themselves and work on their professional development. It kind of lays out the plan so very well. So I'd like to know from you on what are some tips that you'd give to someone who is trying to find a goal that kind of aligns with their personal and professional aspirations?
That's a great question, Sneha. Sometimes when we are working in our organizations, when we go in, we go with the mindset, oh my goodness, I have to grow. I have to become a manager. I have to become a director. I have to become this and that in order to prove my value, right? The thing that I continuously found through my long tenure career is that sometimes we forget and we lose ourselves in that growth. And it is very important that whatever we do to grow our professional careers, it also aligns with our personal passions and that it aligns with our overall internal and personal aspirations, right? That way you do not feel like you're living a double life. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is just encompassed and very rounded in terms of where are you heading and where you want to go. And I can give you 12 million examples, but one of the most common examples is um, when a company lets someone go or when a company restructures and have to lay off like it happened last year, people get lost because they identify so much with their role or with a particular set of activities that they do in a
Mm-hmm.
particular position that then they are totally lost in terms of what to do. um, However, if you combine what are your personal aspirations, you can apply your skills plus your passions, plus your purpose in terms of your new stage in your life. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Nisha. And when someone wants to, like, when they decide that, okay, they have a goal, but then, they're new into this phase of really thinking about professional development, how do they own their development? How do they own their development plan and, build a plan and kind of go along with that plan?
You know what? That is a fantastic question. A lot of people always ask the question. When they are asking a question, they are always asking the same thing. Well, my manager has not told me, we haven't talked about the professional development. And that's the reason behind the book. You do
Mm-hmm.
not have to wait for your manager. You do not have to wait for a leader in your organization to tell you it's time to develop yourself. You can take that upon yourself. And what I like to do always when I'm guiding professional developments, whether it's for my team or for my coaching clients or for a few mentees that I have, is you have to align where would you like to head, what do you truly enjoy, and what are your job requirements today. Okay, and the best way to do that is taking a step back and thinking a little bit. And it's not an easy task, especially when you
Mm-hmm.
have a blank piece of paper, right? Because you freeze. But the most important part is to think, where do you see yourself in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5, in the next 10, right? A lot of the answers is um, um, I want to be the CEO of a company. Well, that's outstanding. How is that going to fulfill you personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how is that going to align with your personal goals that you have? So by combining what are your professional aspirations, what are your current job requirements that you need to grow into, and what are your personal aspirations, you can identify gap areas where you
Mm-hmm.
can start to close that gap little by little and grow professionally so that the next iteration of growth in your company or promotions is a no-brainer that they have to pick Sneha because she already had done 75% of the work or
Mm-hmm.
60% of the work. So, you know what? She's self guided, she's self directed, and she takes her growth very seriously.
I think I love that answer, Nisha. I think you covered a lot of great points over there. And another thing that comes in my mind is in the Edge Leadership Program, we went through this exercise of, writing our dream job description. What is the job description that'll really fit, what you really want to do, that aligns with your personal and professional goals, and that's the job that you're really looking for. And that was also an amazing exercise, kind of aligns with everything that you talked about, and trying to fill gaps to get into that position.
And I think it's fantastic. And I also think it's absolutely fantastic when people tell me, I don't know. I don't know what I want to be in 3 years. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to have your life figured out completely. You don't have to have the specific of the perfect job. But what you should start paying attention is the moments that you feel fulfilled, the moments
Mm-hmm.
that you feel happy, the moments that you feel completely energized, and the moments that you say, I, I just want to step away from this because I cannot deal with this initiative or this task anymore. I'm going to tell
Mm-hmm.
you an example. I am a Lean and Six Sigma certified. Uh, I use some of the skill sets in the projects that I run today, but if you will assign me a plain and simple Lean and Six Sigma project, I will start crying. I couldn't do it. It's just too much. I need to have a rounded perspective in terms of uh, the programmatic impact in the organization, how it's going to have the strategy, how it's going to impact sales, how I'm going to impact the customer. I need to have a more holistic, and that actually fills me up and makes me feel accomplished, right? So you do not necessarily have to have the full detail of where you are and what are you heading.
Mm-hmm.
You do need to start start to pay attention to those tasks that not necessarily that they are difficult, because there's always going to be difficult things in your life, but those are
Mhm.
stuff that drain your energy and do not let you function at your best.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's this entire self-exploration process of, what are some things you
Absolutely.
like, what are some things you don't like. So try to move to a field where, a position where you do something that you like. So these are great points,
Absolutely.
Nisha. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Another thing is that if you're if within your framework of self-exploration, like you have described, there's not a perfect fit, you can always supplement with additional activities, the aspects of your job that not fit 100%. What you want is to have a position that fits 75, 80% of all of your aspirations, and the rest you can accomplish through volunteering, the rest
Mhm.
you can accomplish by pitching in a particular project that may not necessarily be from your area, so that you can learn
Mhm.
about that area. You can mentor younger professional high school students. You can fulfill into whatever. The sky is the
Mhm.
limit. There, with technology these days, there's no excuse.
Yeah, I think you brought a great point over there of, how your day job doesn't really have to satisfy you with everything that you're doing, because you have options to satisfy yourself, like,
Absolutely.
by doing other things, by volunteering. I think that was a great point that you brought, Nisha. Thank you for that. Nisha, my next question is, what are some things that people like? What are some plan of action people can create to actually achieve their goals?
Absolutely. The first and most important thing is to set out an achievable goal that is a little bit of a stretch. Okay, if it doesn't scare you enough, that's not necessarily a right goal for you. Um, because you need to push yourself and you need
Mhm.
to ensure that you keep growing and you keep expanding, right? The second of all, do not, they have to be at that aspirational and push yourself, but they have to be realistic.
Mhm.
I love to work out. I don't love to do it, but I love how I feel after that. Am I going to commit to do a 7 day um, uh, workout, 7 day a week? Well, I could. It's realistic. It's a huge push because it's quite aspirational, but it's not truly realistic when you compare all of the things that are going on in my life. I
Mhm.
just cannot do it. So pushing yourself a little bit, still semi-realistic, and just divide it into small chunks, okay? Keeping with the perspective of the workout and self-improvement. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna start by working out 2 days a week. I can do
Mhm.
that. That's realistic. Technically, I'm not doing anything right now, but I can definitely push myself to do 2 days a week to continue to do this. After a couple of weeks of doing that, feeling how you're feeling, is this still something that I want to accomplish? Do I still want to work out a number of days a week? Yes, it is still a realistic goal. It's still achievable. I still can do it. Then I'm going to add another day. I'm going to work out 3 days a week. So breaking that big goal in smaller chunks is going to be
Mhm.
incredibly important, so that you can celebrate the small victories, and then
Mhm.
you can continue to keep yourself motivated. And above everything that can be available in terms of goals, finding the right people, finding the right tribe around you
Mhm.
that not only keep you accountable but also push you to be better is great. You know, in your particular case, Niha, if that was your goal, you are not going to achieve your goal if you are hanging out with 10 friends that none of them not only do not like to work out, but despise working out. Guess
Mhm.
what? That is going to rub out to you. And the only way that you can get a, a supporting team, a supporting tribe behind you, pushing you and keeping you accountable is by networking. So, number one, set out a stretch goal that you can push yourself toward it,
Mhm.
breaking down in smaller pieces, and then find people that surround you, that inspires you to keep you're going towards your goal. There's a saying, it's a cliche, it's all over social media that says if you're the most intelligent person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. It is okay. We are also fearful about failure, fearful about not feeling intelligent, fearful about not knowing enough. And that's perfectly fine. That's how you grow too. So
Hmm.
definitely networking so that you can find the correct people that support you is the last of the steps.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you. So, when someone, people find it very difficult to network, like a lot of
Yes.
people find it very difficult to network. What are some tips that you would give that will kind of make it a little bit easier for them to ease into that process of networking?
Hey, you're talking to the perfect person because believe it or not, I am a trained introvert. I function in events so that I can accomplish my goals of meeting people and like-minded professionals, but
Hmm.
I am not an extrovert. I do not enjoy necessarily being in big crowds of people and meeting everyone around me, right? So the first element that we have to remember is that for every person that feels uncomfortable in a room, in the full room, there has to be at least five more. You are not the only one that feels uncomfortable. Everyone knows that it is incredibly uncomfortable to meet new people,
Hmm.
especially if you're entering an organization that has been doing networking events forever. People start to know each other. So
Hmm.
technically, you're the newbie in a room full of people that already know each other and that
Hmm.
have formed their cliques. So
Groups, yeah.
it is completely normal. You are not the only one. And that is the most important thing, is to go to the networking event with a goal in mind,
Hmm.
right? Because then you can keep the conversations quick, you can keep the conversations straight to the point, and basically ensuring that you remind yourself that you're there for a particular goal to achieve something. If
Hmm.
we continue with the current example of working out and you go to health event,
Hmm.
then you know that you're there to look specifically for people that are not necessarily the teachers of a particular class, but
Hmm.
more of a support group. Okay, well, throughout the room, I'm going to scan who is as uncomfortable as me. Me, that person. That
Hmm.
person over there, I can see that he or she is the most uncomfortable from the set of people that are around.
Hmm.
And I'm going to go over there and be completely honest and transparent.
Okay.
I have been incredibly common to go over a networking event and tell people, especially in the first couple of networking events,
Hmm.
isn't networking uncomfortable? People just laugh, and that's the spark of initiating the conversation.
Hmm.
Um, be open, be transparent, be yourself, but with your particular goal behind, so that you
Hmm.
remember why you're there and what are the people that you need to meet.
Thank you, Nisha. I think these are wonderful tips. Nisha, next question I'd like to ask you is, what are some books that you like? What are some books that you recommend to people?
Well,
And
mine.
especially, oh yeah.
No, but it depends on the topic, right? One,
Mhm.
when I was relatively new in my last company, I already had about 15 years of experience in the workforce and have been managing team, but the
Mhm.
environments was very, very different, right? The culture was different. The type of people that I was meeting was different. A mentor of mine recommended me The Way of the Shepherd. It
Okay.
is a fantastic book to learn how to take care of your team so that your team takes care of you. And one of my favorite business books are From Good to Great. And I read a lot, so um, there's many of them, but From Good to Great, The Big Leap is another fantastic one, and
Mhm.
one that can never fail me is The First 90 Days. It is a fantastic book for whenever you're entering new into an organization, or
Mm-hmm.
and being new in a team. It tells you basically step by step the planning that you should do to take care and deliver the first set of value proposition to the company within the first 90 days. So those are my favorite ones.
I think these are great recommendations. Thank you so much, Neysha. Are there any parting thoughts that you'd like to leave our audiences with?
Absolutely. It's basically a reminder. It is never too early to start something. It is also never too late to start something new. And whenever you feel you have learned a lot because you have started many, many things, it is time to continue to start even more new things to continue to develop yourself.
Thank you, Neysha. I think that's a wonderful thought. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you
And
for
it was such
having
a
me.
pleasure. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to know you and keep in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
And for the audience watching this, if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel so that you can keep up with our weekly episodes. Thank you so much for watching.